All
And
right,
that's a
Anita.
very official prompt that it tells you it's recording.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you wouldn't mind just jumping in and letting us know, what has your career path been so far?
Sure. So my name's Anita Byrne. I am a 2003 graduate from LSU in a double major in history and political science. When I decided, kind of had I wouldn't say a life crisis, but I kind of decided not to go to law school at the last minute, and went into restaurant management for a Fortune 500 company, right out of graduating from LSU. And so did that, moved around a little bit. Lived in Florida for a little bit, came back to the kind of greater New Orleans, Baton Rouge market, and it was tied directly to a store, but then really got into the training and development side of the business. Hurricane Katrina hit and kind of shifted the world, much like what we're going through right now. So stayed with them for about 6 more months after Katrina, and then started working with SSA Consultants, which is a business management consulting firm based here in Baton Rouge. Super fancy way of saying that at the core of what business management is, it's helping improve performance, whether that's on a company level or an individual level. So clients for us are everything from nonprofit to Fortune 500 companies, including work in the public sector at the federal, state, and local level. Improve performance, it kind of, sometimes people think of like strategic planning and HR training, leadership development, and executive coaching, and we certainly do all of that. We also tend to do kind of more project management based work, which is also, figuring out a public policy initiative or a marketing campaign, and kind of figure out how to take an idea from a feasibility study all the way through execution. So runs a little bit of the gauntlet, but I've been with SSA since 2006, and currently one of 4 partners in the firm.
That's awesome. How do you feel like your HSS degree has prepared you for the workforce and even specifically in your current role at SSA?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing around what Humanities offers is the ability to take a lot of complex information and to distill it into a unique thought. And that's really served me well. So when you think about the breadth and the scope of the clients with which I work, right? So everything from a nonprofit to a Fortune 500. But at the end of the day, people are people and business is business. And so being able to kind of consume all that information and become a very quick study of that industry, of that company, understand the nuances of the client, and then convert that into action. So I definitely think that the skill set around writing clearly, what conveying a message, whether it's through written or oral communications, were huge skill sets for me that were developed there.
Absolutely. When you were in your during your time at LSU, were there any specific classes that you sought out specifically to gain a certain skill or some sort of knowledge base that you thought would be useful as you were transitioning from college to career?
So I don't know that I would say I sought it out specifically, but probably the class that I ended up enjoying way more than I thought I would, and actually did help me coming out of school, was this. It was a history class, and it was called "The World Since 1960." And if you think about that, when you go through your high school career, a lot of times everybody kind of stops about World War II, right? By the time you kind of get through, particularly your American history courses. And so really to have that course that really picks up with the Vietnam War, goes, well, did a little bit around Korea, but really picked up heavy with the Korean War, and then moved very quickly into the Middle East, and kind of being able to understand how that shapes current politics, has been and is really helpful. If nothing else, to kind of give a ground set and to understand kind of global economics and how it all plays together. And so particularly when you think about the pandemic right now, right? So to understand the difference of why the 1918 flu was very different in our economy than this pandemic, right? And what that difference is. And so I don't know that I sought it out specifically in answer to your question, but was definitely a class that I have referenced more than I realized when I was going to take it. And again, just because it helped me understand modern politics, which is where I spend a lot of my time, is kind of understanding the role of government, how licensure restrictions, how that plays out in industry, how you kind of are able to understand the system, and be able to affect change. So it was very helpful in a surprising way.
Right. Those are always the best classes, the ones you least expect. So as you're looking at, bringing on potential interns or even full-time employees, are there certain skills or qualities that you look for in those candidates, or maybe certain things that stand out on the resume or in the cover letter specifically?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to kind of that writing skill, right? So when I read somebody's resume or their cover letter, the things that really stand out to me are if you're able to craft a message, and it's not necessarily about bragging about yourself. It's about convincing me that you've kind of taken that time to look at the company, right? And understand what we do, and then trying to figure out how you position yourself to be able to add value to that. I'm looking for individuals who can build across difference well, right? So I'm looking for a kind of a breadth of experience, whether it's volunteer, whether it's classwork, whether it's extracurricular. I see you as a person of interest? Because one of the things that we do is, because we work in so many different situations with so many different types of people, you have to be able to meet people where they are. And so we're looking for someone who is interested. We kind of call it this innate curiosity. I want someone who's curious about how the world works, how an industry works, how people work, and then how they can help that individual improve. Because at the core, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that there's any technical skills specifically that you look for in a hire, or is that something that you could teach on the job if that is necessary?
Yeah, that's a good question. So predominantly, most of our work is going to be centered in kind of a Microsoft skill set. So, being able, if you have developing mad Excel skills is a huge plus, but not a requirement. We do some surveying work, and that's something we can teach on the job. I can teach someone to do a lot of things. I can't teach someone to care. And that's kind of the difference, right? And so when I'm looking for someone, and when I'm looking for in the interviews, and we engage with someone, whether I take them, can I take them with me to a client? It is not uncommon for us to start off our morning with at a breakfast on public policy, to turn around and deliver executive coaching, to then turn around and be in a meeting with the governor, to then turn around and then just do straight up like report writing, right? And so that's all in one day. And so the things I can teach someone to do a cool Excel trick, and how to do pivot tables and sort data in a unique way. I can't teach someone to care about those settings. I can't teach someone that individual that we're interviewing who is, maybe in an entry-level position, we have to treat that individual with the same amount of courtesy and intentionality as we do like someone who has a big title, right? And that's where a lot of our magic happens.
Gotcha. What is your favorite thing that you love about your job and the industry that you work for?
So I have two things that I really love. One, I love that no 2 days are the same. So I love the fast pace, the quick study, the ability to move across different settings very quickly. That's something that I personally really enjoy. It fits my personality type and my interest level. The other thing that I really love about my job is we can see impact, right? There are some, projects where we've been with one organization for 40 years. SSA has been in business since 1970, and we've helped that family business transition through 4 generations of ownership, right? And to be able to see that impact and see that they're still highly successful, they're still based here in Louisiana, they're a major employer in the state, and be able to help them navigate that transition is hugely rewarding. By the same token, if it's a really intense project where it's, more of a cultural change management, where they're implementing new software, being able to work with a client over 3 months and be able to see that adoption. So I love how we're very much able to see impact and be able to leave someone, an organization or an individual, better than we found them.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we are currently dealing with the COVID-19 situation, how has that affected your job and your company, and how you move forward during this difficult time?
Sure. So I think just from a tactical standpoint, right, we do have a physical office building based here in Baton Rouge. It's at Highland and Bluebonnet. We call it our tree house. It's set up in the piers, in the trees. Obviously, we're not there, right? One of the benefits, though, to the nature of our work is we all had remote capability to begin with, right? So it's not uncommon if I'm with a client off site, that I get on a plane on a Monday and come home on a Friday. And during that time, I was connected to my team. So I think an advantage that we had facing this pandemic was that we, A, had remote capability, and B, were comfortable as a team working in different locations. So I think from that perspective, that was a good thing. A lot of our clients are trying to figure out what they do. So I think what's been really exciting during this time is we've able to been a conveyor of information for our clients. One of my business partners, for example, she is the chair of the Small Business Council for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And so we've been able to pull information directly from the U.S. Chamber, get it out to our clients. That's been really exciting. I think helping people help their employees, right? I mean, that's kind of the core of what we do. So whether it's helping them position communication statements, whether that's helping them rethink their supply chain, whether that's helping them help someone figure out how they were going to do their quarterly kind of shout outs to congratulate their employees on a successful first quarter. All those things still matter in this kind of new normal that we're going to exist in. And so it's always an honor and a privilege to work hand in hand with clients, particularly when they go through something tough like this, to figure out what their next step is and how we can support them in that work. So love the crew that we have. For example, our 3 interns are flexing with us. So every morning we do coffee chat together. So at 10 a.m. we host a big Zoom meeting, and if you're available, you jump in. And so it's been nice to kind of see everybody's home offices, kind of nice to take that time out and have our own sense of normalcy while we're helping clients and do different things.
Absolutely. All right. Well, my last question is, what is your best advice for these freshman students, first-year students that are just starting out? Maybe they don't know what that future career is going to look like, or even, certain industries or careers that they want to explore. So what is your advice for not only during their time at LSU, but also as they're looking forward to whatever that future is?
Sure. So one of the things that I think is really great about LSU is the community in which we sit, right? So Baton Rouge as a whole. And I think that's one of the things that I wish I had been a little bit better about, was understanding Baton Rouge and getting involved and getting outside of the gates. And that's something I'd really encourage you to do, is to kind of connect to the larger Baton Rouge community, whether that's through the chamber. They have a young professionals group. It's called Forum 225 that can kind of connect you through all the happenings. And part of that is exploring internships. I think, since the time I was like 2 or 3, I would tell you I was going to law school and I was going to be an attorney. And that is just not the life path that ended up taking out, but it's worked out pretty well for me. And there's a lot of things that I love doing. And so I think it's okay not to know. I think it's okay to change and to pivot as part of that. But be open to doing something different, be willing to try things. For example, if you think, oh, that company's only hiring engineers, for example, don't just think that. They need a communications person. They need a strategy person. They need an accounting and a bookkeeper person. There's all kinds of roles that companies need. And so don't not join in, whether it's connecting the community, applying for different companies. But that would be my biggest advice, is to break out and get involved.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anita. Your input was so wonderful, and we're just so thankful to hear from you directly. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Please let me know if there's anything I can do. Thanks for asking me to do this. This has been fun.